Good afternoon, everyone. Let's start our video book review today. You know, what really makes you happy, what builds on your core strengths and taps into what gives you purpose, also makes you an inspiring leader. And that's what we learn in February's book, How Remarkable Women Lead by Joanna Barsh and Susie Cranston. I've been covering this book for February because we're still in the early phases of 2018 where you can make a difference in your second act. Those ladies who are baby boomers like myself who are starting a second act, and that could be a new home business. It could be a business you're starting with someone else. It could be something that you've been passionate about, but you haven't been able to actually go out and do anything about because of constraints from life. I mean, life does get in our way, doesn't it? Even I know that it's gotten in my way many times. In fact, I'm in the middle of a cross-country move from Colorado back to New York. And no, don't send me all of your psychiatrist's information. I don't need it. I know I'm crazy, but hey, my grandkids are in New York. That's where I have to be. Today, out of How Remarkable Women Lead, I am going to be reading about a sense of purpose, as I mentioned last week when we covered some of the core strengths that you need to be a remarkable woman in today's world, leading your local community or the whole wide world, because we are connected to the whole wide world via social media. I'm so excited about this book, and I've been talking about it all month, and I'm just brushing the surface. Seriously, I am not even going to get to the very ending. We're on what, I don't know what chapter it is, but it's only page 50, where she talks about the things that make you happy and building on strengths and tapping into what gives you purpose, making you an inspiring leader. I mean, we're in the very beginnings of the book. The stories in the book are about other remarkable women and the things that they've done and how they have achieved the goals that they set for themselves, how they brought magic. I'm a big believer in magic. How they brought magic into their world and into their business and into what I call their second act. It's actually quite a common term now. We're hearing a lot of it. Why are we hearing a lot of it? Because there are a whole lot of baby boomers out there, and we're into our second act. We're not giving up. We're not sitting around. We're not just knitting booties. I don't even know how to knit. I don't know, I might learn. I used to crochet. But the truth is, we are out getting things done and accomplishing things. And baby boomer women especially, it doesn't hurt to have a little outside help. And that's what How Remarkable Women Lead is. It's a bit of inspiration. It's a bit of a way to remind yourself that yes, that magic inside, it's worth sharing with the whole world. When you have a sense of purpose, and the purpose is often to do something bigger in the world. So let me read from A Sense of Purpose. Again, this is chapter 4. This is what Joanna writes. So why do so many people hesitate to search for a true meaning in their work? Yeah, it's almost as if, well, this is work. This is not something I'm supposed to find meaning in. Well, not true. Often it's because it threatens the status quo or their sense of status. You know how this works. You rationalize, telling yourself that you can't afford the risk. Once you start asking questions, you find that what has meaning for you has nothing to do with your long-held beliefs about what constitutes success. Deep down, you realize that those beliefs are based on expectations and values set by others. This is a big pet peeve of mine. And you know, the alternative purpose you yearn for takes you on a rockier and steeper path, surely a riskier one. Can you really turn your back on what you have? The next question is, can you afford not to? Can you afford not to take that step into that second act? Can you afford not to do what builds meaning and purpose in your life? So you may have spent the last 20 years as a secretary or someone with a corner office or an executive or a mom. I was a mom for 15 years. I stayed home with my kids. I enjoyed it. Never, ever will you hear me complain. It was like some of the best times of my life. But in between their being toddlers and then grade school and then high school, I went back to school myself. And I went back to school to study writing because that gave me purpose. It wasn't until I was in my 40s, but still, that gave me purpose. I grabbed it, I did it, and I look back now and I say to myself, no, had I not done that, where would I be? I wouldn't have this blog, I can tell you that much. Blogging is a story in and of itself that I can tell you someday. And I do know that the thread, the desire, the reality of being who I was and what I needed to be was part of what I learned growing up watching my mom, who ran a corner grocery store. She also wanted to be something bigger, something more. And her something more was a little bit less maybe than she might have wanted. I don't know. I never asked her if she wanted to go beyond. She always told me she wanted to drive a truck. I don't know what that has to do with it, but I learned early on that you can be your own person. You can take the skills and talents you have. She was so good at this. I mean, she's a people person, and everyone loved her, and the store did very well. So Joanna goes on to write in the next chapter. We move on beyond purpose to dream catcher, because that's kind of what we're doing. We're reaching for a dream. How do we catch that dream? Where is it? She calls it dreaming and doing. And the part I want to read you on page 58 is dreaming with purpose. She says, Ken became my mentor. That's her husband. He told me from the start, you have to have a purpose for why you do this. You have to think it through and write it down. And every single thing you do, you have to do it with that idea. You have to think it through and write it down. And every single thing you do, you have to do it with that idea. Did you write it down? You need to write it down. I've talked many times in many blog posts, maybe not on video, but in blog posts I've written about the fact that writing something down makes it concrete. You say it out loud, and that lifts it up to the universe, and the universe is listening. And then you write it down. And when you write it down, you have now made it concrete. Yes, you have sort of put it in stone, if you will. You can make changes. You can be flexible. You can move a different way, take a different path. But when you write down that core purpose, that thing that has power for you, and you look at it, and you think about it, and you play with it, it becomes real. It becomes doable. And then you take the next step and you start to do it. And even if you don't know what you're doing, I can remember in journalism school, you were taught to show, don't tell. And strangely enough, that was a hard concept for me to understand. I mean, I thought I was showing. I was writing all of these wonderful things and using all these adjectives and going on in great detail. And, basically I was giving a report. of the story I was trying to tell instead of telling the story. And that's what you need to do. Stop showing, or stop telling, start showing rather. And so Ken says at one point, this is the biggest takeaway today. The biggest takeaway from the sense of purpose and dream capture. This is the biggest takeaway, and it's where I want to leave you with this book. It is only on page 59. There is so much more for you to learn in How Remarkable Women Lead. But Ken says, now you have to make this happen, in response to something that Joanna wanted to make happen, of course. And I asked him, how do you do that? And he said, you have to figure it out. So there are no magic answers. You can buy 100 books that tell you how to do it. You can take 100 webinars. You can attend all sorts of watch online videos. I recommend to do it, but in the end, you have to figure it out. You have to do it. I'm not there. I am not part of your big dream. I could be part of your audience, but you have to make it happen. You have to figure it out. Back in journalism school, when I kept getting notes on my writing, show, don't tell, show, don't tell, show, don't tell. And I was so frustrated. I don't know. I was in tears because I thought I was showing. Showing involves putting the reader into the story. It doesn't involve making a report and telling them what happened. Okay, so there's a lot of work that goes into learning how to be a good shower. It's not a good teller. You can start with telling and then move on to learning how to show. And that's what I had to do. Don't know what you have to do. I only know that you are remarkable. I only know that remarkable women do lead, and we need more leaders. We need local, we need state, national, whatever kind of leader fulfills your sense of purpose. It doesn't have to be in politics. I mean, we're right now all caught up with all this thing about we need more women to lead in politics. Well, that's all well and good, but I'm a big supporter of those women who are working out of their home or starting small businesses that are really the foundation of everything that happens in this country. And these are women full of magic. These are women that sometimes just need a helping hand and need to accept that they are remarkable, but learn how to bring that to the community. And so this is Yvonne DeVita at lipsticking.com. And this is our final video book review for the book, How Remarkable Women Lead by Joanna Barsh and Susie Cranston. I recommend it. Get yourself a copy. I think it will inspire you. I think it will make you understand how truly powerful you are, and it will help you take that next step to figuring out how to make things happen for you. And next week, I don't know yet what we're going to have in March. I'm still exploring. I have a big library to tap into, and maybe it'll be a fiction book. I like my fiction books too. This is Yvonne DeVita. Talk to you next week.